Are you a bad person because you had a quote unquote bad food? No, you're not. You made a decision. And so instead of labeling foods as good or bad, it's food. It's a protein, carbohydrate, or fat. If you want to give yourself the best chance at having energy, having good attitude, being positive, then get these things lined up. That's just the right way to look at it. What's the context within which you're going to eat that protein, carbohydrate, or fat? People need to be taught this so they're not out there beating themselves up because they had a piece of cake. It's a piece of cake, for crying out loud. Damn. Oops, sorry. If it's not a protein, a fat, or a carbohydrate, it's not a food. It's a vitamin, it's a mineral, it's one of those two other things. It's a poison, don't eat those. Our body can't build a cell without fat. It's what the cell membrane is made out of. Get your nutrition lined up, start to work on your sleep. Pick one thing, pick one area, start working on it. And you'd be rocking and rolling. How y'all doing out there? Yeah. Another day, another time to, you know what time it is. Well, and also, we actually are going to sponsor a second thing. Yeah, we're sponsoring North Industry on this too. Wait, actually, North Industry is sponsoring this. I got confused. Never mind. North Industry does sponsor this. This is a gym in Livonia. And, we're CrossFit-ish. And we believe in fitness, health, and longevity there. Getting strong, getting your conditioning in place, staying mobile, staying safe while you're doing all that. Yeah, but also, North sponsors the podcast, but we sponsored Liquid Death. Once again, shout out to this great company, this great sort of purveyor, great purveyor of beverages, water. Apparently they got different flavored stuff, but I usually don't get into the flavored stuff. I just like that natural, pure water. Needed that. Episode 34. Wow. 34 weeks without a miss. Today could have been a really episode 34, the Y doc. So we're just continuing along with the Y doc here. We're getting into a section that talks about nutrition and metabolism. It was titled, what was it titled? Dun, 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 dun. The section was titled Basics of Food Digestion and Metabolism. And again, this Y doc's really big and there's a lot of stuff in there. And so I'm pulling kind of sections out. And if you remember, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Goal of today's episode, get into the Y doc, but deeper. Here we go, going deeper. Explicate, bringing that word back. Explicate on nutrition and metabolism. Because why not? And have some fun. We're going to have some fun today. Usually I don't have anything after this, and it's just like I'm shutting her down. I'm done, and bam, I'm shutting down. I'm on the couch after I start uploading some of this stuff. But not today. Today, we're going to leave, and we're going to do something else. That's work-related, but it doesn't really matter if you know that. But now you do. Outline of topics. We got updates. There's only 4 of them. We got updates. We're going to do a little before we get started. And then we're going to go to the doc, the section of the doc, and then we'll have some final thoughts for you today. Bam, knocking this stuff out. Let's get into this. Updates. We got golf. It's the only sport that's going on that I have any interest in. And the only reason I have an interest in it is because I get used to watching something about 3 or 4 in the afternoon on Sunday, which would be football, which I'm actually interested in. So I'm going to turn golf on, and I'm going to watch golf while I eat a salad. And I usually finish it off. But Scotty Scheffler, I want to say Scheffler, but Scheffler smashed him this weekend on that final round. Weather, it's cold again, believe it or not. Up here in the north, you can go from 80 one week to 40 the next week, and that's what we did. So that's amazing. Subscribers, email 62, YouTube 118. Spotify moves again. Let's give it up for Spotify. Spotify goes from 28 to 29. I don't know what's moving the dial on that. I think they changed around their algorithms. There's ways to grow Spotify. You have to upload clips and stuff, but again, this is already too much as it is. I've spent 3 hours writing. I'll talk about it in a second. Apple. You know what, Apple? That's what you're getting. You're always getting that, Apple. Get off it. You know what else? You know what else about Apple? In order for me to find out that the number hasn't changed, I counted it today. I have 10 clicks, a drag, and a code I have to put in just to find out that the number's not moving. That's been going on for like 20 weeks now. So what do I mean 10 clicks? There's literally, I counted it because I'm like, it's just so annoying. Literally 10 clicks of the mouse. I have to drag a screen and I have to put in a code. All that just to find out Apple didn't do anything. Reminder, please submit your questions to Dennis Fenrich at dennisfenrich.com. I'd like to reverb that. You know, there's other things I can do on this too. You know what? All right, next episode, guys, I'm gonna use some of these other buttons. I can change my voice. That'll probably be. It's gonna be weird. You can sound like Satan, which isn't good. You can sound like he's sucked helium. That's kind of lame. But maybe I won't do that. To be determined. Be a surprise for next week. Satan's voice or helium or none. You guys are just chewing at the bit for that, I'm sure. Reminders. Oh, wait. No reminders. Before we get started. All right. So I'm going to a couple of things before we get started. Again, just a quick reminder. This is a document that I put together 3 years ago for the gym community that I built. I just don't like taking credit for things. I don't know why. But I guess I did build it along with the help of the great coaching staff that we have and the great community that we have. You know, they also help people get incorporated and stick around and reach their fitness goals as well. So it's a team effort. That's why I don't want to take credit for it. But I wrote this 3 years ago to explain like everything why I would get a lot of questions. Like, why don't I just put all these questions or these things that I get questions about, why don't I just explain it in a document? And then whoever's really interested, they can just go read it. Yeah, so that's what I did. So we're going through that. We're pulling out sections, and the original plan was I'm just going to read it as is, and then I'll make my comments as I'm going along in the podcast here. But then this morning, I can't believe how badly it's written. Like I've still been writing off and on over the past 3 years, and so I didn't realize how much better I am. I still feel like I'm not that good. But man, that was bad. So I'm not just going to read it as is. I actually rewrote the whole thing. Now, I didn't get it quite finished. If I would have done this the way I wanted, I would have gotten everything rewritten. It took me about 3 hours. I would have gotten everything rewritten and I would have left it and I would have came back to it the next day and go over it again. And then I would have done that on a third day. So I didn't do that because, hey, it was episode day. I didn't think it was going to be that much work. I didn't realize how badly it was written. I must have shaved out 25% of the words. I mean, it was just a lot of words that didn't need to be in there and just not organized. Some of the thoughts in the paragraphs weren't very clear. So it took some time, but I did rewrite it. And I did want to say that I'm not reading it just off the cuff. I'm reading it after a rewrite, but the information is going to be good. At least I think so. You'll be the judge of that in a second here. All right. To the doc. Get my glasses out, get a drink of water. I'm getting these buttons down. Let's go. Oh, man. Here we go to the document. Basics of food, digestion, and metabolism. I pulled out this very small section because I kind of needed it to go over this bigger section. There was some stuff in between that just wasn't relevant. So here we go. What is nutrition? Nutrition is this is a definition I pulled from the internet because I thought it was pretty good. Definition. Nutrition is the biochemical and physiological process by which an organism uses food to support its life. It provides organisms with nutrients, which can be metabolized to create energy and chemical structures. And I thought I'd simplify that to the simple version, which is nutrition is supplying our body with the nutrients it needs. Let's do more of that. You know what I mean? More of that. Good nutrition meets our body's specific metabolic needs, optimizing function and enabling optimal productivity/output. Any limitation in either the nutrients or the amount of nutrients can restrict capacity and function. And this really hits to what's going on today with the hyper focus on the quality of nutrition or the diet, which talks about removing this or adding that, and missing the most important part, which if you've been following this podcast, and hopefully you already know what I'm about to say, because then you're actually learning it, that the quantities matter, right? That if I'm eating the most perfectly healthy foods, nutritionally balanced on the planet, and I'm only eating 100 calories of that a day, I'm going to die. So the quantities of these nutrients matter. And that's kind of what the last sentence points out. Any limitation in either the nutrients or the amount of nutrients can restrict capacity and function. Yeah. To the section we are interested in, basics of food. I just thought it'd be good to have a definition of nutrition before we started talking about let's get that in our head before we start talking about these three things here. So basically, we're going to cover the basics of food, digestion, and metabolism, because that is the process of what happens when you're nutritioning yourself, right? There's food out there. Then we're going to digest that food, and that food is then going to be utilized for energy, incorporated into tissue or whatever needs to happen with it, right? So I break these three things down so we can better understand this whole process, and that's what we're going to do today. What is food? All foods are made of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. That's what makes them food. The fact that they are a protein, fat, or carbohydrate. If it's not one of those three things, it's not a food. And you have to understand that, right? If it's not a protein, a fat, or a carbohydrate, it's not a food. It's a vitamin. It's a mineral. It's one of those two other things. It's a poison. Don't eat those. That's important to think that way. When you start to get that into your thinking, then you can start to understand why carbohydrates taste good, why proteins taste good, and why fats taste good. It's because your taste buds are evolved to drive behavior to go find those things. I hope that landed. If that landed, you got some serious insight. Okay. Next paragraph. Proteins, fats, and carbohydrates all break down into two major things: energy and substrate. Substrate is the material we use to build our body. I think you know what energy is. That's my rewrite. That's terrible. See, I would have totally fixed that tomorrow. I'm going to fix it anyways, but you won't get to hear it. Dang it. Missed that button. All right, let me read this paragraph again. It's not good, but proteins, fats, and carbohydrates all break down into two major things: energy and substrate. And that's the key point with that little paragraph. Food then is going to be, the food breaks down into energy, which we know of, and then substrate, which is the material, which if you guys have been listening to this, you get, right? Amino acids and fatty acids. All right, going on, carrying on. Protein has energy and amino acids. Amino acids are substrates. They are what all of our cells and therefore your tissues are made from. Your bone, your eyes, your skin, your muscles, everything. Even things like your immune system and blood. So we need amino acids to keep rebuilding those wonderful things at a healthy rate throughout our lifetime. Fat has energy and fatty acids. Fatty acids are substrates as well and are needed to make every cell in our body. Our body can't build a cell without fat. It's what the cell membrane is made out of. Fats are also heavily used to make your brain, nervous system, and steroidal hormones, among other things. So we need fat to keep rebuilding those things at a healthy rate throughout our lifetime. That's going to be explicated more later on. So basically the 2 points there are: there's food. Food is proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. And those fatteens, man, my brain's tired. Those proteins, fats, and carbohydrates have energy, but they also supply substrate. Okay. Carbohydrate has energy, and really that's about it. But this does not mean they are empty calories or void of nutritional value. There are plenty of benefits from carbohydrates, supplying energy to our brain and cells, increasing our energy output and strength, speeding up tissue repair, preserving our lean tissue, and they have a calming effect on our nervous system, lowering stress levels. Just like the other two macronutrients, you just want to eat them in the right amounts, not too much and not too little. All right. Let's nerd and go a bit deeper. See, it's typo. Let's nerd out and go a bit deeper. At its most, let's do that. All right. If you're down, let's nerd out. At its most basic level, food is energy from the sun and matter, substrate from the earth, bound together. That's why when you digest food, it breaks down into those very same two things, energy and substrate. You are made out of energy from the sun and matter from the earth. Your body is comprised of the environment that it came from and lives in. How could it be any other way? So, when you eat, what you are doing is replacing the energy your body has burned and the matter that has broken down inside you with the very same things from the environment that you came from. It's a never-ending cycle. That's why you have to eat your whole life. That's why you got to eat your whole life. But to me, it makes sense when you say it, but it is a bit mind-blowing, right? Like, the sun's been shining on this planet, this giant rock, and things started to form up out of that, and here we are. In order to maintain ourselves, we have to keep bringing those things into the system because you're going to run out of energy if you don't, or you're going to run out of substrate, and things are going to start to break. And both of those things are bad. All right, one last paragraph before we go on to digestion. One last thing before we move on to the next step, digestion. Wow. I thought what I wrote. We are spending our time talking about the macronutrients. Oh, I just want to make a little side note here. Yeah, I would totally be rewriting a lot of this stuff. One last thing before we move on to the next step, digestion. We're spending our time talking about the macronutrients, but foods carry and are full of micronutrients as well, which are critical to a healthy metabolism. This is to keep things simple. Yeah, we're focusing on the macros. We're not talking about the micros because we want to keep some things simple. But know that they play a key role for sure and need to be accounted for if optimal nutrition is your goal. Okay, so we basically broke food down, right? It's a food if it's a protein, a fat, or a carbohydrate. Those things break down into are utilized for energy or substrate, which is materials to rebuild yourself. And there are these micronutrients, but we're not talking about those right now. So that's the gist of what food is. Now we're going to continue along to what digestion is and start to understand that to a better degree. And then when we get to the last section, metabolism, hopefully it all makes sense. And you go, light bulbs go off. Wouldn't that be great? Who doesn't like light bulbs? All right, what is digestion? Digestion is the process of breaking down big things, plants, animals, and animal products, into smaller things, proteins, fats, and carbs, and eventually into tiny things, tiny little things, energy, amino acids, and fatty acids. This either starts at your mouth with chewing or before that with cooking, processing, soaking, smashing, etc. Some think of digestion as only starting at the mouth or stomach, but what is digestion doing? Digestion is breaking down food into smaller things. So when does digestion truly start? Whenever food begins to be broken down. This makes food preparation and cooking pre-digestion and part of the process because it's turning something big into something small. Leading me to my next point, refined foods. And I wanted to point that out because people, refined foods are demonized, right? Like it's all over the place right now. Oh my God, I'm not going down that road. But they are highly demonized and it's food. Why is processed food a food? Because it's a protein, carbohydrate, or fat. And a story. And all cooking is processing. Harvesting is processing. Anything you do to food is doing what? It's getting it from something large into something small so you can eat it. Now, where it is on that continuum, well, that can vary, right? And that's what refined food is. Refined food is essentially something that's been much more digested than a whole plant. Now, the argument is, well, if it's like that, then it's bad for you. Case closed. And it's just not true because the context matters. And I already say all this. I'm just going on a rant right now. Some is okay in a healthy diet. I swear to God. I swear. All right, I'm going to keep reading. Refined food is essentially starting along the digestion pathway before you get it. A bit of pre-digestion, if you will, i.e., some of the breaking down has been done for you. The bigness has been reduced to smallness to some degree. Bigness, I like that. This can have some negatives attached to it, potentially removing some of the micronutrients, but it can have some benefits as well. What? How can refined food have benefits? Well, let's see. One being that refining is going to increase the absorption of the food since things can be bound up in the food itself. If you ate raw wheat, for example, it would not go well. There is way too much of the plant you can't digest. And some of the parts have nutrients you won't have access to without processing, freeing them up. So this refining or pre-digesting can help get nutrition out of the plant and into your body, which goes along the same with food. Every food you eat goes through some form of processing, cutting, cooking, soaking, etc., and this makes nutrients more available for absorption. Judging, refining, or refined foods as all bad is too simple. Like most things, it has positives and negatives. There's nuance to it. And the last part here, moral of the story, for plenty of people, there is a place for refined foods in a healthy diet. The skill is knowing when and how much, okay? And I've said this on other episodes about when we say good or bad to food, we're essentially tying a moral judgment to it. And if you say that food is bad and then you eat it, well, what do you get to feel about yourself? You get to feel like I did something bad. Are you a bad person because you had a quote unquote bad food? No, you're not. You made a decision. And so instead of labeling foods as good or bad, it's food. It's a protein, carbohydrate, or fat. What's the context within which you're going to eat that protein, carbohydrate, or fat? And that is just the right way to look at it. That's just the right way to look at it. And people need to be taught this so they're not out there beating themselves up because they had a piece of cake. It's a piece of cake, for crying out loud. Damn. Oops, sorry. All right. That's fun. All right, so we talked about what is food. We talked about digestion. So now those basically, I went on a rant. This whole section was more so I could go on a rant on refined food. I got to open it up a little bit more about. But the main point of this section is what is digestion? Digestion is getting big things into smaller things. That is all it is, okay? And that's a key thing to understand for understanding metabolism because we know what food is. We're then breaking the food down, and now it's getting inside us. Because if it's in your mouth, it's not inside you yet. It's not inside you till it gets past the intestinal wall, technically. And it's all important to know. Here we go. Last section. What is metabolism? Metabolonia. Sorry. Oh, I lost it. I didn't drink water. That's good. That's good. I said it before. That is really smooth water. If you know what smooth water is, you know what I'm talking about. What is metabolism? Metabolism is when those tiny things you just digested are pulled into a cell, used for energy, and or used to rebuild you. Your bones, your muscles, your tendons, your eyes, your hair, your skin, and your nails. All of you. It's that simple. It's the reassembly of the things you just digested into you. That's not good wording. It's taking that big thing and breaking it down and reassembling it is the metabolomic, the metabolism part. There is a key point here about metabolism that can't, man. After this, I'm actually going to speak to a small group of people. So I don't know how that's going to go. Oh, boy. Oh, my God. Anyways, all right, let me try slowing down. There is a key point here about metabolism that can get missed. Traditionally, when we say metabolism, most people think about energy expenditure or how much energy their bodies burn. And that would be correct. But metabolism is not just how much energy you burn, as we just pointed out. It is also the rate at which your body is rebuilding itself or how quickly your cells are dying and regenerating. See how to rewrite that. It is also the rate at which your body is rebuilding itself, or said another way, how quickly your cells are dying and replicating. If your cells stop doing that, then you would stop. This is the other part of metabolism that most people need to become aware of. It's just as important, if not more important, than freeing energy and burning it. Key point to metabolism. There is two sides. One is pulling in and utilizing and freeing energy from the foods that we eat. The other one is taking that substrate, those fatty acids and amino acids, and then rebuilding tissues and blood and enzymes, and everything that keeps you running is made from protein, all right? Your metabolism is doing that. It's key to know to begin to understand how to take better care of yourself. Metabolism can and should be viewed with these two things in mind: energy and cellular regeneration. We want to hammer this home because it's critical to truly understand how metabolism and therefore your body works. Metabolism is energy utilization and cellular regeneration. I'd like to make one more critical point about this. Metabolism can also disassemble you. Disassemble, Johnny number 5. It can use its pre-existing tissues, you, by breaking them down, which then can be used for general metabolic function or building new things in your body. Your body is constantly disassembling and reassembling itself with itself. So metabolism can use the external, food, or the internal, you, depending on what its needs are at any given time. Over time, though, and this is the point, the internal pieces become unviable, can't continue to be used in parentheses, and need to be replenished from the external, i.e. food. This is why we have to eat proteins and fats throughout our lives. They are the substrate with which we are rebuilding our bodies and therefore are constantly in need of replacement. Point on that. There is no arguing that you need to eat proteins and fats. They have the substrates with which you are made out of. The argument comes in how much, which brings me back to one of my original points. It's not necessarily about the nutrients as much as it is about the quantities. If you're eating 30 grams of protein a day, you're not getting enough. Now, you can do research and find out what you think is best, but, it's more than the RDA, in my opinion, and many other people. So make sure you're getting enough protein and fat in your diet so that you're not hindering your metabolism, the cellular regeneration side. We have now come full circle. Big things get broken down into little things and reassembled back into you. A big thing. Hopefully not bigger than you want. Frame shot. Did I get it? I didn't hear it. I chimed it. Man, God. Just when I was bragging about my button use. Okay, last little paragraph here, not much of nothing. Okay, I know this whole section was a ton to process. Try to grasp this information, though, because it will help you immensely in understanding how your body works and therefore how to best care for and improve it over time. All right, get to these final thoughts. Final thoughts, got them. I'm back. Whoo! This podcast went faster than I had anticipated, which is good. It's supposed to be somewhere in an hour. Final thoughts. There are two sides to metabolism. Understanding this helps you understand how your workouts or training are more than just burning energy. They break down tissue, which then takes time, energy, and material to build back up. This is where overuse injuries, tweaks, and the like come from, among other contributors like poor form, lack of rest, and poor hydration, which can all slow down or hinder your metabolic capacity to build back stronger. Optimizing metabolic function, which nutrition is one part of, optimizes adaptation to training and your environment. Bam. So, when you understand that exercise is breaking down tissue, which it is, generally speaking, especially intense exercise, those tissues need to get built back up. If you're not taking in enough protein, you're slowing down the other side of your metabolism, which is cellular regeneration. It's just that simple. Other ways to slow it down: don't sleep enough, don't drink enough water, be stressed out all the time, don't get out of an unstressed state. All these things are just not, it's not stopping it. So don't think, my life's falling apart. No. It's just not optimal. It's just not running as good as it could. It's an incredible machine. It's able to do things for a long time, which is unbelievable. You think about some of the ways that people live, and they just keep on living. It's just mind-boggling. But if you want to optimize, if you want to give yourself the best chance at having energy, having good attitude, being positive, then get these things lined up, get your nutrition lined up, start to work on your sleep. Pick one thing, pick one area, start working on it, and you'd be rocking and rolling. That is it for today. It's getting quicker, which is good. All right, guys, hope you have a great week. As always, hold on. Wrapping it up here. Next episode. Says unknown, but that's not true. Next episode, Ryan Mars. He's a member at the gym, and we are going to break down his nutrition, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to help him put a nutrition plan together. He messaged me about meal planning and all this other stuff. I'm like, let's do a podcast. I think people get a kick out of it, or at least maybe get some insights on how to think about building in a nutrition plan into your life. Me and Ryan are going to do that next week, and it's going to be a blast. Help us grow. Do you know someone this could help? Do you know anybody that is wondering about nutrition? Maybe they would like to understand the diet that they're on a little bit better, right? That the diet they're doing isn't about the diet. It's about how much of the nutrients you're getting. Are you getting all of them? And are you getting in the right amounts? If you know somebody could use that kind of information, hey, share this with them. Like and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube's. And as always, submit your questions to Dennis@DennisFenrich.com. Hope you guys have a great week, and we will see you on the flip side. Something I used to say doesn't make any sense.